welcome back to another week of Heritage Kids. I'm Miss Jenny, and I'm so glad you have joined us this week. I can't even believe it, but friends, we have made it to the final unit in the Gospel Project. We've made it from Genesis to today. We are in the book of Revelation, and it has been quite a story, hasn't it? But it's not over yet. There's still a lot more to come. Have any of you ever been on a treasure hunt or maybe a scavenger hunt in your house or in your yard or your neighborhood or maybe at school? Well, when you're out doing some sort of search, maybe you have a notebook to write down what you found, or maybe you have a pouch to hold on to what you have found. Well, this notebook that you might use to keep track of what you found in your scavenger hunt kind of reminds me of what John was doing in the book of Revelation. John saw some incredible things in a vision from Jesus about what will happen at the end of time and what heaven will be like. And Jesus told John to write down everything he saw so he could share the information with other believers. I've got a lot to share with you this morning, so stick around and I'll tell you all about it. Friends, as we get into these last sections at the end of the Bible, a new big picture question will help guide our learning. Here is our final big picture question. What is the hope of the church? Now, I want you to think about that question while you hear the story today, and then I'll give you the answer in a little bit. In our last unit, we learned about the ways Paul finished his life strong, never stopping in the mission to spread the gospel. We also talked about how God wants us to love one another with our actions, not just our words. Living on mission and loving others are possible when we trust God and focus on the hope we have for the future, Jesus' return to earth. Our story this morning comes to us from the book of Revelation, chapter 1, and our story is called John's Vision of Jesus. Check out this week's Bible story video.
Like many believers, the Apostle John faced suffering and persecution for telling people about Jesus. The Roman emperor punished John by sending him to an island called Patmos. While John was on the island, he had a vision. John heard a loud voice like a trumpet. The voice said, "Write on a scroll what you see. Then send the message to the 7 churches in Asia: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea." John turned around to see whose voice he heard. He saw 7 golden lampstands, and he saw Jesus, the Son of Man. Jesus was wearing a long robe with a gold sash wrapped around his chest. His head and hair were as white as snow, and his eyes were like a fiery flame. Jesus' feet were like strong polished bronze, and his voice sounded like a roaring waterfall. Jesus had 7 stars in his right hand, and a sharp, double-edged sword came from his mouth. Jesus' face was shining like the sun. When John saw Jesus, he fell at Jesus' feet. Jesus put his hand on John and commanded him, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last and the living one. I was dead, but look, I am alive forever and ever." Jesus explained that the 7 lampstands were the 7 churches. He told John to write about everything he had seen. Jesus showed himself to John and explained that he is the first and the last, the living one. While Jesus was on earth, He defeated sin and death by dying on the cross and coming back to life. Now, Jesus is lifted up in glory and honor forever and ever.
Our story point for this week tells us that Jesus appeared to John in a vision and instructed John to write down everything he saw. And this is how John wrote the book of Revelation. Many parts of the Bible tell us about other things that happened in the past. The book of Revelation also tells us what will happen in the future at the end of the age. Knowing how our part in God's story will end gives believers hope. And John's vision was filled with symbolism. And symbols are like pictures that carry deeper meaning. For example, when Jesus said he is the first and the last, he didn't mean that Jesus was the first and last person in the line. Jesus was helping us understand that he is God the Son, eternal, with no beginning and no end. He reaches all the way back to before the beginning and all the way forward forever and ever. Friends, the best news is that Jesus will return and reign over the world. And Jesus will reign over the new heavens and the new earth forever and ever. And we can look forward to Jesus' return with hope and certainty. And this is the message that we want to go and spread. We want to tell others about Jesus, and we want to tell them about his return with hope and certainty. Friends, I'm so glad you joined us this week for another week of Heritage Kids. And we'll see you back here next week. Have a great week, everybody. See you soon.